So this is what I call a picture story. And it's not called a picture story because it's a story about a picture being taken or a picture in general, because that would be boring. It's called a picture story because it's a story that I think of when I take a picture or when a picture is being taken of me, so that way my smile doesn't look something like this. Because I'm laughing. This story was begun by my father telling me a story about 4 or 5 years ago. So he was telling me about one of his friends who got a little drunk after one of their gigs and was a little bit not so graceful. So he was leaning down to pick up his gear and he leaned a little bit too far forward and maybe kind of lost his balance a little bit and fell into the wall that was 2 feet from him. So when my dad said this, he said his head got stuck in the wall. Now, me being like an 11 or 12-year-old was imagining this short little egg-shaped sort of man with his head stuck into a brick wall. Like, his head was not able to be seen because this is the wall, and here's his head, and here's his body with his arms just kind of flailing around trying to get his head out of the wall. So I laughed so hard at this. I was dying laughing at this mental image that I was getting. And I mean, it lasted years where I would think of that, and that was enough for me. That was the picture story, because I was just imagining this guy with his head stuck in the wall, and it was great. It was wonderful. I laughed. I had tears running down my face. Anyways, my dad found my my laughter quite hilarious, and so he was telling some of his friends a few years later about how I had laughed so hard. So I was standing there and I heard him telling the story, but this time he said it a little bit differently. He said that his head got stuck on the wall. So logically this makes sense, right? The guy falls forward and his head hits the wall, and then he just can't get back up. You know, he's like stuck there and he can't move. I was standing there and I heard him say this, and I go, hold on a second, you said that his head got stuck in the wall. There is a difference between in and on, unless we're speaking Spanish and it's the same word, but we're speaking English, okay? And there's a difference. I had imagined this for years now, and now he was telling it differently, and I was going to set it straight. And he said, no, Jess, it was a brick wall. Your head just doesn't go through a brick wall. No matter how tipsy you are, your head is not going to go through a brick wall by you just leaning over. I was speechless. My whole mental image wrong, my picture story ruined, and I told the people there, I told his friends, and I said, no. What I thought was so funny was the image of his head stuck into the wall where he couldn't get out because it was like a cartoon and his head was just in there, you know? You could only see his body, and he's a little on the heavier side, and just I shared that mental image with them, and they found that hilarious. But is that what really happened? No. He just got his head scraped because he couldn't get back off the wall. That was it. That's the end of it. It was a disappointing day for me.